Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, the Knesset enacts a controversial new law. Hamas turns its underground network of tunnels into museum for kids, and Israel welcomes hundreds of new immigrants from France. I'm Natasha Kirchuk here with the latest news in Israel. The Israeli Knesset has passed a controversial law that allows sitting members to be expelled for inciting racism or rebellion against Israel. While that may not seem so bad, the bill is facing heavy criticism because of expectations that it will be used to target Arab lawmakers. The law requires at least 90 of the House's 120 members to vote in favor of disqualifying a Knesset member, a majority that will likely be difficult to achieve in the divided Knesset. Because of that, the legislation appears to be more declarative than functional, although it did pass with a 62-47 vote. Prime Minister Netanyahu's right-wing coalition believes the law will prevent violence, racism, or support for the armed struggle against the state.
עבר חוק שהוא קיים גם במדינות אחרות, שיאפשר היום לכנסת ישראל בקונסנזוס מאוד רחב להגיד עד כאן. המציאות שבה יש חברי כנסת בכנסת ישראל שתומכים באופן גלוי בטרור, בניגוד להתחייבות שהם לקחו בבחירות, היא בלתי אפשרית. הציבור הישראלי ומערכת הפוליטית לא מוכנים יותר להשלים עם זה.
Yet critics claim the move is mainly aimed at Arab legislators as a means of curbing freedom of speech. Some Arab Knesset members have outraged the Israeli public by voicing sympathy for Palestinians killed during attacks against Israeli civilians, or for condemning Israel's response to the recent wave of terror. But Arab legislator Ayman Odeh is accusing the Prime Minister of incitement against Israel's Arab minority.
האסטרטגיה הכי ברורה והכי עקבית של ראש הממשלה היא להסית נגד המיעוט הלאומי הערבי במדינה. כך הוא עשה ביום הבחירות, כך הוא העלה את אחוז החסימה, כך הוא מסית נגדנו כל הזמן, וזה גם חוק ההדחה. למה? כי הוא מפחד מהמשקל שלנו. אנחנו מהווים 20% מכלל האוכלוסייה. במידה ואנחנו לגיטימיים במדינה, הוא לא יישאר ראש ממשלה והימין לא יישאר בשלטון. התגובה שלנו, אנחנו עוד נתעצם, עוד נתחזק ונתקע לו כעצם בגרון.
There are 18 Arab members of parliament in the Knesset, and Knesset member Hanin Zoabi from the Arab Joint List is perhaps known as the leading instigator of the bill. The lawmaker has been banned from the Knesset 2 different times for not only visiting the Palestinian families of terrorists, but for also openly calling for Palestinian resistance against Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister is defending the new bill, claiming it will end the, quote, absurd situation in which somebody is able to support terror against Israel and simultaneously serve as a member of parliament. Police have undertaken a series of measures aimed at preventing violence at today's Gay Pride Parade in Jerusalem. Last year, ultra-Orthodox criminal Yishai Schlissel stabbed 7 people at the parade, killing 16-year-old Shira Bunky and injuring 6 others. Police have now arrested his brother Michael based on intelligence information that reveals he too was planning an attack of his own. The Jerusalem Magistrates Court has ordered that Michael Schlissel be kept in custody until the conclusion of the event. Schlissel's mother and 4 other brothers were also banned from the city during the parade, following police questioning. Even though the family's attorney Itamar Ben-Gvir accused the police of harassment, Schlissel's father appears to approve of the action. He told local media that he trusts the police to do everything that needs to be done and that he wished more had been done last year to prevent what happened. Law enforcement was heavily criticized last year for failing to keep Yishai Schlissel away from the 2015 march, which took place just weeks after he was released from serving 10 years behind bars for having injured 3 people in a similar stabbing attack in 2005. The ultra-Orthodox convict is now serving life in prison for Bunky's murder. As far as today goes, other anti-gay activists have also reportedly been cautioned by the authorities or banned from Jerusalem. For their part, Bunky's parents Ori and Mika called on the public to attend the march and to honor their daughter Shira's memory by rejecting violence. Jerusalem District Police Commander Yoram Halevi has announced that security will be beefed up along the route and is warning that anyone attempting to disrupt the march will be dealt with firmly. Should former President Moshe Katsav be granted an early release from prison? The imprisoned Israeli leader has only served 2/3 of a 6-year sentence for rape, but the parole board is still considering granting him an early release. The Movement for Quality Government has closely been monitoring the case, and attorney Michael Partim told ILTV's Steve Leibowitz that justice is better served if he serves out his full term.
Well, it's difficult to see what circumstances have changed in the last few months to bring about a change in opinion by the parole board. There is precedent which says that a program of rehabilitation outside of the of jail is not sufficient reason for an early release, because if the person is repentant and he undergoes a process of rehabilitation, that should be done while he's in prison. So I would say the movement, and discussing it with people in the movement, there's still no reason for us to change our position to be in favor of an early release or early parole. And of course, just from our point of view, the crimes committed, which are a sort of a abuse of power, one of the more heinous abuses of power that is all too prevalent in our society and in our government history in terms of taking advantage of people who are working for you in that way. And again, he was convicted of raping public servants who are under his charge, which is a really severe crime, which we think should be stamped out at all costs. So from that point of view, we're not interested in any sort of easing of the penalties. Forgiveness, there's always room. Repentance, there's always room. On a personal level, it's difficult to know what's going on. We're not there. But on the level of the principles of, one, rehabilitation, and two, the crimes committed, we're not in favor of any parole for Mr. Katsav.
On the other hand, well, obviously, if he repented and apologized to his victims and expressed remorse, then perhaps the movement even would be in favor of some kind of leniency. But that's not the case, because he thinks he's innocent, or he declares his innocence. On the other hand, he's been a model prisoner. He's a very elderly man. I doubt, or it seems doubtful, that he would be a threat to any women, because no women are going to be working for him, number one, and number two is he's in a different place in his life in terms of his possibility of attacking anyone. From all of those perspectives, I mean, if he was any other prisoner under these circumstances, did not express remorse, but was a model prisoner and elderly and really unable to attack anyone else, they would probably get the third reduction, and I don't know if there would be any objection from the movement.
We're involved in quality government. That's our motto, is to try to strengthen quality government in Israel. And that means that criminals against quality government, those who commit severe crimes while they're in public office, from our point of view, should be punished to the fullest extent under the law, because it sends the message that we want to send. In terms again of parole, there are factors which are taken into account, and some of them you have mentioned, which are both plus and minus. The plus is that he's an elderly gentleman who has been a good prisoner, apparently. Again, and the minus is, and this is sort of public knowledge, that he has never expressed any remorse or contrition, and has not made up with the victims, and doesn't, or at least it seems, he evidences a belief that he did nothing wrong. And so that's a factor against early release. And again, it's difficult to see if he's willing to undergo a process of rehabilitation, which would mean that he understands what he did is wrong, then he should have done that already. He should have done that, in prison.
Yesterday, we reported about summer camps in Gaza being turned into military training programs for kids. And now Hamas rulers have just created a new summertime activity for local youth. The Gaza-based terror group is now offering tours through the underground tunnel system they built to carry out cross-border attacks on Israeli communities. Tons of photos are being posted on social media sites by Palestinian users, showing Gazan children exploring the tunnels built by Hamas to infiltrate the Jewish state. The tours are set to be included as part of Hamas's summer camp curriculum. Videos posted on Facebook show lines of kids being guided through underground networks, which are reported to have been constructed by Hamas's armed wing, the Al-Qassam brigades. Posters of Palestinian operatives apparently killed by Israel can be seen decorating the walls. According to the pro-Hamas Afak media outlet, the tours are being held in the Shejaya neighborhood of Gaza City. Features of the excursion also include an exhibition of weapons and methods used in the Hamas resistance against Israel. This is all part of Gaza's larger commemorations this year for the second anniversary of the 50-day conflict with the Jewish state. The 2014 Gaza War, known as Operation Protective Edge, broke out on July 8, 2014. And during the fighting, the IDF discovered and destroyed 36 tunnels leading from the Palestinian territory into the Jewish state, used to ambush Israeli soldiers or attack the Israeli public. 66 Israeli soldiers and 6 civilians were killed, and over 500 troops and civilians were wounded. Around 2,000 Gazans died, 64% of whom were estimated to be terrorists by Israel. The exact number of Palestinian casualties remains highly disputed. In the meantime, Hamas consistently boasts that it's rebuilding its network of attack tunnels under the Israeli border, and that its arsenals are being replenished with even more sophisticated missiles, in anticipation of a future war against the Jewish state. Since 2014, Israel has invested around $250 million to develop a detection system to locate the passageways, 2 of which have been uncovered within just the past 3 months. Today is the 47th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing, when the first man ever walked on the moon. Now, an Israeli team hopes to land the first Israeli spacecraft on the lunar surface. SpaceIL is the only Israeli team participating in a space race sponsored by Google, and with us today is Senior Strategic Advisor Danny Grossman. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
So before we start talking about this competition, I want to hear about what it was like to actually experience firsthand the first man walking on the moon. What do you remember, and how has that influenced what's happening today?
Well, I was a teenager at the time, and like all the people of my generation, our imaginations just went wild when we saw the first man walking on the moon. Personally, it affected me. It drove me towards a career in aviation. Many of my friends, it drove them to careers in science, technology, and it affected, there was a huge spike in American youth, in people who got excited about their future and trying to become good in science and technology. To this day, when the Google Lunar X Prize became a possibility, immediately I thought this was something which we have to get involved in.
Absolutely. So tell us about this competition. What is the SpaceIL program? What are the goals, and how is the team doing so far?
Well, I got involved in the the Google Lunar X Prize is a competition open to people from all over the world. Private entities are allowed to enter, not
right.
countries, but on the very last day in December 2010, 3 very young and talented Israeli scientists, Yonatan Weintraub, Kfir Damari, and Yariv Bash, said it's impossible that there'll be this terrific competition and an Israeli team will not be part of it. So with just a few weeks and the clock ticking to register, I got involved and I told the guys, like they said in Apollo 13, failure is not an option. And we helped raise the money, and the Israeli team registered on the very last day of the registration. And from this, there were already 32 other teams in the competition. But from that beginning, in December 2010, with other teams having a 2-year head start on us, now, fast forward some 5 years, the Israeli team is the first, literally in first place And what is SpaceIL? SpaceIL is the started by these first three young entrepreneurs, has since grown into a company with over 30 full-time employees. The current CEO, Dr. Eran Privman, is someone who's proven himself in the high-tech world. He's also a former aviator, and it has gotten the backing of the Israeli Space Agency, of Tel Aviv University. The head of the Weizmann Institute is the head of our board. We have all these people who are involved in this, and we've gotten people like Morris Kahn, who is an entrepreneur who got also very excited about supporting this. Sheldon Edelson, Lynn Schusterman all saw the potential that this has for firing the imagination of both Israeli youth and people from all over the world. So what we've done so far is within just a few years, we overtook everyone, and we became the first team to sign a launch contract. What does a launch contract mean? To be able to land on the moon. The Google Lunar X Prize is very simple. All you have to do is take anything. Give me this cup. If you can take off from the Earth, land on the moon, move 500 meters, okay, and then transmit back to Earth high-definition pictures, you've won the competition.
Right, that's what the competition was.
The problem is it's not so easy to do. So you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a manned expedition. You don't have to have a rover on the moon. But what the Israeli team has done is we're going to hopefully do this. We signed a launch contract. We're going to be launching with SpaceX, Elon Musk's company, and we're going to get a launch into space. From there, we're going to disconnect from the launcher, fire our own rockets, and make the journey to the moon, land, make a soft landing on the moon. And then the Israeli solution to this was, rather than drive along the surface of the moon, was actually to reignite the engines, hop the 500 meters, and then send back the pictures. So now we were the first team to sign a contract to do so. Amazing. And by the end of this year, there will be only a few teams of the original 33 teams. Which were registered. Less than half are still in the competition, and that's going to go down to just a handful by the end of this year. And again, it's wonderful to be in first place.
Wow, it's a big deal. So who else is involved in this program from Israel and abroad?
As I mentioned, some of the people like our space agency and the universities, and virtually anybody in the high-tech world and in the space world in Israel. We're going to be building it at the Israel aerospace industry, which, Israel is one of only a handful of countries, like 8 countries in the world, to build satellites. So our space program, we're an amazing country, and we have amazing capabilities here. And so from Israel, all these people are behind us. And one very important aspect of the program is our educational program, because we see this as the opportunity to inspire the next generation.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Why is this important for Israel's future, to be able to have these capabilities to reach space, to reach the moon with unmanned vehicles?
Because hopefully this will create what we call the Apollo effect. Just like, as I mentioned, Apollo inspired a whole generation of young people to go into these types of fields. We're hoping that this will encourage students, kids, to take a few more units of math, a few more units of science. This will move the whole Israeli society and economy forward tremendously. And this will have an amazing effect. Also, of course, it'll give us national pride in having done so. To this day, only America, the Russians, and the Chinese have actually landed on the moon. Can you imagine what this will be? As the startup nation, we'll be able to say that we have done this as well, and how this is going to affect my grandchildren, and everyone else who's going to want to take part.
So we can also have another wow moment, just like you had when you were a teenager, about the Apollo landing.
That's the entire idea. Charlie Bolden, who's the head of NASA, was just here. He met with 200 Israeli students as part of our educational program. 200 Israeli students, including a school which had Druze girls speaking in Arabic, presenting their project, which they were doing to him, to show how this is something away from the conflict, a wonderful story for Israel, and to get everyone excited about this. And again, if the head of NASA comes here and he sees this excitement, which we have in our next generation, hopefully this will take us.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, Danny.
Bye-bye.
Israel has just welcomed 200 new French immigrants in the wake of the tragic terror attack in Nice, France. The Jewish newcomers arrived on the largest flight of the summer from France just a week after the terror rampage that killed 84 people. French immigration to Israel has spiked in recent years as Jews in the European country have expressed fears over rising anti-Semitism and terror attacks on the continent. Some Israeli officials have even started calling on France's Jewish community to leave en masse. Jewish agency head Natan Sharansky met the newcomers at the airport yesterday afternoon, where he said that Jews do not have a future in France and that their community is necessary for the future of Israel. Half of the new immigrants are teenagers, children, and toddlers who will enter the Israeli education system at the end of summer break. Immigration from France to Israel has increased from 1,900 people in 2012 to 7,800 in 2015. And since 2000, a whopping 10% of the French Jewish community has immigrated to the Jewish state. 2014 marked the first year that 1% of a Western Jewish community immigrated in a single year. And this summer, an estimated 9,000 new immigrants from around the world are expected to arrive in the Holy Land.
Top Israeli chef Meir Adoni has long had a major impact on the international gourmet food scene. But now the culinary artist has set his sights on a totally different market. And I had the time of my life tasting why.
Who says kosher food isn't tasty? Top Israeli chef Meir Adoni is trying to change the stigma around kosher food with this gourmet restaurant, Blue Sky. And we're here to have a taste. Tuna tartare, tapioca, green watermelon, sugar palms, vinaigrette. These aren't necessarily the kind of ingredients you would expect to find in the typical kosher meal. But here at Blue Sky restaurant in bustling Tel Aviv, celebrity chef Meir Adoni is redefining gourmet kosher food.
We don't treat kosher as a limitation or as an excuse to do something differently. We have the same service, the same design, the same music, the same atmosphere. The food happens to be kosher.
We immigrated 2 weeks ago. The truth is, in Paris we have many kosher restaurants, but the truth is this quality of food and service is very rare.
Blue Sky is one of Chef Meir Adoni's 4 famous restaurants in Israel. And for the last decade, the chef with Moroccan and Kurdish roots has been considered the leader of elite cuisine in the Holy Land. His latest feat has been pioneering the gourmet kosher food scene by using special techniques to recreate some of the most famous non-kosher tastes in the world.
We do foie gras without dairy products. To do foie gras without butter, if you tell it to a French person, they will tell you mad nuts. But this is not the way it is, because you have today the techniques.
Chef Meir Adoni imports ingredients from all over the world to create his eclectic dishes, and each recipe is more complicated than the next. Try the appetizer Osaka in red, for example. The unique seafood dish has 13 different ingredients. 13!
I don't even know how to start.
We'll start from the bottom. It starts if a jelly, watermelon jelly. It's incredible.
There are 1,000 ingredients in both of these dishes. Eating here is like a mental process. You can see after I taste this, I actually literally have to think about what I'm eating because there's so many ingredients that make this so amazing. And what's crazy about it is that it's all kosher, which is not typical of a top gourmet restaurant.
At Blue Sky, you'll literally have the chance to taste ingredients you never knew were edible. The gourmet restaurant's Caribbean sunset dessert is literally sparkling, and it's not because I'm so excited to eat it.
Whether you eat kosher or not, I'm sure that you haven't tried gold in your food, and I'm talking real gold. This amazing dessert has actual gold dust in it, and now I get to try it.
While you may think that Blue Sky only caters to people who keep kosher, that's not necessarily the case.
50% of our clients are not kosher clients at all.
I'm a private chef that's here working for a family from New York. I'm not kosher, and I didn't know I was eating in a kosher restaurant. I ate here the other night too, and it was nice.
And for foreigners who are looking for a true Israeli experience, Blue Sky offers more than just kosher food. Just take a look at the view.
I did come here to get dinner, but I'm finding that I'd rather just sit here and look at this amazing panoramic view. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that I'm working right now.
So if you're looking to satisfy all 6 senses from taste to sight with a gourmet meal that just happens to be kosher, Chef Meir Adoni's Blue Sky is where you should be headed. This is Natasha Kirchuk reporting for IAF TV.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. They say that if you're not in the parade, you might as well watch it. So today's word is mitzad, which means parade in Hebrew. Israelis love to stand up for different causes by throwing mitzadim or parades. Just last month, women marched in Israel's annual Slut Walk Mitzad to promote women's rights and protest sexual abuse. And today, Israelis from around the country are heading to Jerusalem for the annual Pride Parade. I mean, it doesn't sound too bad to spend your day supporting a cause you care about during a street party. After all, it's hard not to let anybody raid on your mitzad when you're surrounded with people who support you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. The weekend is finally here. Friday is expected to be sunny with a high of 88 degrees. The sun should stay out through Saturday with some partial clouds, and the temperature will go down to 86. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.86 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to check out our next update at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and see you tonight.